All right, let's get started. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna be talking about how to build your confidence with dyslexia. So in the last video, we kind of talked about how dyslexia wrecks your confidence. Well, it's not dyslexia that wrecks your confidence. It's having dyslexia and going through a school system. And that school system kind of teaches you learned helplessness. If you missed that video, check it out. So I'm gonna give you 3 ideas that's really gonna be helpful to develop your confidence and help you deal with dyslexia. And it's also going to kind of rewire your brain and kind of get rid of that learned helplessness that some of us learned going through the industrial school systems. Are we recording? Is this even working properly? Yes, it is. So the first thing that's going to help you build your confidence and develop your confidence as a person with dyslexia is understanding what dyslexia is and understanding what school is. So let's talk about dyslexia first. So dyslexic people are not stupid. Your brain is not like a stupid version of a normal brain. Your brain is fundamentally different than a normal brain or a neurotypical brain. Generally, a neurotypical brain, a normal brain, is very good at solving very specific, detailed oriented tasks, things like reading and writing. Whereas a dyslexic brain is not very good at that kind of stuff. Our brain is more geared towards solving big picture oriented things, so like creatively solving problems. So these 2 different brain types, there isn't like one isn't inherently better than the other, one isn't like stupider, one isn't smarter. It's just different ways of doing things. It's kind of like having a truck and a car. Yeah, they're both vehicles. Trucks are going to be good at haul things, whereas cars might be better at like road trips and things like that. So the first thing to understand is your brain isn't broken. It just works differently than a neurotypical brain. The second thing you have to understand is how school systems work. So when schools were first being developed, the main idea was to train people to go work in factories because, you know, when factories were getting ramped up, they needed more and more workers in order to like build these things. And at the time, everyone was working in farms and stuff like that, and they were doing non-specific things. So like a farmer might have had to know 100 different things, and they might have like done something every day that's different than what they did the day before. But when factories were getting started, we needed people to go in there and to do one thing over and over and over and over and over again at a really precise level, and like very, very repetitively. And a lot of people were not used to doing that. So schools kind of taught like the most important things you needed to know in order to become a factory worker. That's kind of why industrial school systems got started. And the main thing schools were using to teach people was textbooks, because textbooks was like the most economically efficient way to pass out information. So you can print one book and then you can send it to a school, and then all the teachers would read off that book and teach off that book, and all the students would read and learn that information. And that system has kind of persisted all the way throughout. There's a legacy of that industrial school system that is still in our school systems right now. There's a lot of amazing people in schools, like teachers. I'm a teacher myself, so I'm not talking bad about teachers and educators. I think generally they're like well-meaning, good-hearted, like people that generally care about, you know, children and things like that. But the legacy of that industrial school system still exists in our schools. And the way we learn and the way we teach in our industrial school systems is from 0 to 4th grade, you're taught to read. And then from 5th grade to 12th grade, you learn by reading. This whole system is kind of geared towards this normal or neurotypical way of doing things. So when we're going through that school system, we're not going to be able to perform as well. So our confidence is going to take a hit because our brain is just generally not made for that. It's like if you had a car and then you took it to a construction site, that car is not going to be very useful in that particular area because a truck would be better. The same idea. Our neurotypical brains are better at school. Dyslexic brains are not so good at schools just because of the types of things that the brain is supposed to do at a school setting where it's mostly based on reading and writing. All right, a quick announcement before we get to the rest of the video. I created a quiz so you can find out what dyslexic strengths you have. The link is in the description below. Click on it, take the quiz, and find out right now. All right, let's jump back into the video. So the second thing that's important to really build up your confidence with dyslexia is to think about the stories that you're telling yourself. So most of the time what happens is we have like this self-talk running in the background. Whenever we face a situation, there's a subconscious narrative or story that like happens inside of our head. This used to happen to me all the time, where I would go into a situation and I would feel like not confident that I'm going to be able to do something because I would remember something that happened to me back in the days back when I was in school, back when I was a little kid, and that story would just start playing in my head, and what that would do is make me not be able to do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing at a high level. It would like make me feel self-conscious. It would make me feel like an imposter. It would make me feel like I shouldn't be doing this. It would make me feel like I wasn't the right person to do the thing that I was supposed to be doing. So how this works is you have a conscious brain and a subconscious brain, and your subconscious brain really doesn't understand reality, and it believes whatever stories that you're telling itself, and that's how it creates like your worldview on things. So if you're playing a story of yourself when you were a kid over and over again, maybe it was a time your teacher said something to you, or maybe it was a time that you got bullied, or maybe it was a time that you just generally felt stupid and not confident about yourself. That story, every time you think about that story and tell yourself that story, what happens is your subconscious brain believes that it's happening to you right now. So every time you replay that story, it's as if it's happened to you again and again and again and again. So how I like to think about this, and I got this from a guy named Stan Ovens, is you can think of it kind of like a scale. And every time you think about a negative story, what you're doing is you're taking a rock and you're putting into the negative side of that story, like low self-confidence side of the story. And every time you think about that, you're taking another rock and another rock and another rock. And eventually what happens is, over the years and years of you retelling that story, there's like a huge weight on one side of the scale because of one experience that you had. So that one experience has like a weight of like thousands and thousands of your other experiences. So whenever you catch yourself telling a story and you get transported back into back into the time where you were in high school or in elementary school, replace that story with something positive. If you don't have something positive, build that in. Maybe you can read a book this week. Maybe you can read an article. Maybe you can write something. And then whenever you go into that story, catch that story and replace it with something positive you did. And then what that will do is eventually you will move those stones from this side of the scale to the other side of the scale. And eventually, anytime you are faced with a problem, instead of having low self-confidence and low ability to do certain things, you will automatically tell yourself a positive story that kind of empowers you instead of sapping your energy and disempowering you. So the third way to build up your confidence around dyslexia is to develop abilities and skills that are undeniable. So the things that I used to struggle as a dyslexic was I was not able to read, I was not able to write, and I was not able to communicate with people. So I've worked on all three of these over the last 5-6 years, and right now I have undeniable skills at all three of these areas. I read more books than pretty much anyone I know. I read 100 books last year. I read 100 books the year before that too. And then the year before that, I think I read 75. So I built my confidence and my skills up to that level. So if anyone even says I can't read, that it's undeniable. No, I can read, and I do it better than most people, right? And there's like a sense of pride in that too, because I used to have this chip on my shoulder, and I used to have this confidence issue around that idea, but that is undeniably gone now because I proved to myself and I proved to pretty much anyone around that I can read. The second thing was I was having issues communicating. Now I feel like I'm a really great communicator, not just with writing, not just with speaking, but also through other mediums like video and podcasting and things like that. It's undeniable. I'm really good at this compared to who I was when I was in high school and in elementary school. So it's this undeniable skill that I've worked really hard on developing. And the same thing with writing. I'm right now I'm not as the best writer in the world, but slowly but surely I'm getting to a point where someday I'm gonna be able to write a book and someone will enjoy it. So that skill when I write that book is gonna be undeniable. And you can do the same exact thing. Pick the thing that you're struggling with and slowly build up that skill, so when you think about who you are as a person, that thing isn't undeniable. You want to start building these skills up slowly over time to where you're you take your weaknesses, things that you just stuck at, and you turn them kind of into your most powerful, potent abilities. And the transformation that happens is kind of slow, and it's kind of weird because a couple of years ago when I was talking to my therapist, and I was kind of talking about all the things that I'm kind of working on, and she said, you know what, you're pretty smart. And when I heard that, I was just kind of in denial. I was telling her, no, I'm not smart. I just do these different things using these different techniques and stuff. And she's like, no, you're smart. And I just every time she said that, I was I wanted to believe her, but I also had all these imposter syndrome, self-doubt, these negative gross feelings around like even the idea that I can be a smart person, even the idea that I can like, you know, yeah, it was just like a weird feeling. But eventually what happens is you cross a line where it's just like, you just look at the things you can do, and then you look at who you were, and then you start realizing, yeah, I don't have any issues around this idea anymore. And like all the confidence and the imposter syndrome issues kind of start evaporating over time. And of course, when you jump into other areas, like other arenas of your life that you're not really like confident in, like for example, shooting YouTube videos, like standing in front of this, like sitting in front of this camera and talking to you guys like this. I used to have, and I still have, huge imposter syndrome issues around doing this. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm telling myself, just go with this, be in the moment, talk to you guys, and try to connect with the people that are watching this, because maybe it can help you guys with the struggles that you're having. All right, guys, thanks a lot. I hope you guys liked that video. If you did, please smash that like button. It's gonna really help out with the algorithm. One of my goals this year is to grow our dyslexia community to 100,000 subscribers. It's a big goal. I really need your help on this, so please help out. Also, join our dyslexia community. It's completely free. I'll put it into the description below. It's an amazing place where a lot of people are sharing resources and sharing our stories and connecting with each other to help us become better dyslexics. All right, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, everybody. Love ya. See you guys next time.